let's start with, we're going to start with two things. The first thing we're going to start with is pulling up the actual job, because one thing that we talked about last week was how you can really manipulate your personal narrative to, you all are not on my screen anymore. Where'd you go, buds? There we go. Okay, how you can manipulate and update your personal narrative to make sure that it's really relevant to things that are also relevant to the company, right? So first thing I want you all to pull up is the actual job. Get that in front of you so we can look at the company and see what kinds of things we can pull out. This is a pretty nice job too. We're gonna review some things together. I'll actually share screen, but make sure you have it as well, because you're gonna want to take a look at this. Share screen. And the second thing that I want you to look at nope, that's not the right screen share. Let's see. This one. There we go. All right. So here's the role. It's by a company called Circle. They're a financial technology company. In their actual job description, they kind of describe the type of culture you're going to be a part of, the type of team you're going to be supporting, what you're going to be responsible for, what they're expecting you to bring to the table, base compensation range. It's part of the reason why I picked this one, because they actually list a pretty good base, and a few other key things. Okay, we talked about last week. Yeah, last week. When you're preparing for an interview, you want to make sure you have a very clear and very quantifiable reasons why you're interested in just not only this job, but this company. In addition to the industry, right? Why you want to be a software developer, but why do you want to develop at Circle if you're going to be interviewing there? Why is their company more attractive to you than other companies in the market? And why do you, in what areas do you provide additional value that might be unique to other applicants coming in with the same technical capabilities? Okay. In an entry-level role, we've talked about this, right? Entry level is going to be 0 to 3 years. Okay. Now, this role specifically asks for 2 years of experience. So you need to be able to speak to that. Okay. Which means that here's how I would think about it. When I see a role and it says 0 to 3, golden. That means you're willing to take people who have no professional experience, only study experience, only case study type of experience, or personal projects, because you're indicating that range. When it says specifically 2 years or specifically 1 year, or even specifically 3 years, you're still good to apply, right? Throw your name in the hat. But you want to make sure that in the event that you are selected for an interview here, you can speak to it and you can mitigate any risk that they may associate with that, right? Maybe having a line to say something about what it is that you do know, specifically how you've worked or developed any projects with these 3 technologies in their framework can help them to draw that picture, okay? Because someone who has 6 months of experience versus somebody who has 18 months of experience, I'm sure there will be differences in execution, in process, etc. But it's not by a long shot, okay? You know, you're 3 years into the game, I'm 1 year into the game. Like, you're not, it's not that big of a competency gap in a lot of situations. We can get you up to speed quickly, pretty quickly, right? So that's something to keep in mind and something that you are going to want to think about how you're going to address. And I'll give you a little foreshadowing. I am going to ask you something like that in the mock interview portion of it, right? So be thinking about how you would frame that. So what I'm going to do right now is really quickly, because I know that folks had a lot of stuff going on Monday. So this is not fresh. We're going to take 5 minutes. And what you're going to do in these 5 minutes, are you going to review Circle, the company? You're going to review the job description that's been provided and think about what changes or tweaks you would want to your personal narrative, because I'm going to act like I work for this company. Now, you don't need to know this company in and out. You're really going to use this for the personal narrative piece of it all. Everything else, I'm going to kind of ad lib, and it won't matter. It'll be the behavioral focus in the questions. So I'm not going to be like expecting you to know a whole bunch extra about this company, except for why you want to work there, why you want to develop for them, and any other key things that make you a unique candidate for this particular company. And that's it. So you'll have about 5 minutes to do that because I don't want you to feel rushed and I want you to feel prepared. Do we feel that we'll need longer than 5 minutes? Does that feel like an appropriate amount of time? Okay. I'm gonna set a timer and then once we're done, we're gonna kick off, right? So I'll start it off. We'll start going round robin. We'll switch up the order so you all not having to, so one person's not having to lead every single answering of the question, but all three of you are gonna pretty much answer as many of the 12 questions as we can get through. Okay? And we're gonna start with the personal narrative. So that's why I'm giving you this upfront time. Let me set a 5-minute timer. Okay. Go ahead and take some time, look at that, and then in 5 minutes, we'll regroup and we'll deliver the narratives. Okay, wonderful. Now, let's jump into it. And I forgot one thing that we're gonna actually also do, because I think it'll be helpful, is we're gonna take a break in between delivering these personal narratives and going into answering the actual interview questions. And the reason why is because I want to review the STAR method with you all, just to make sure everybody feels super solid on that, because that's how we're going to evaluate each other's responses, is adherence to the STAR method. Okay, it will make interviewing so much easier if it's something that you struggle with. Curious, show of hands, who actually even gets nervous about interviews? Or you all lean more towards the nervous side, or are you more confident when it comes to interviewing? Caroline, okay. Everyone else, okay.
I'm neutral.
And tell me this, because Caroline, you shared that you get a little nervous. What makes you nervous about interviewing? Curious.
So actually the behavioral part is not what makes me nervous. I think it's like I guess it would be the technical part, because I really see like that imposter syndrome in my brain. Like this week I was so stuck, and I just feel like it was all because I failed that interview. Like I feel like I failed the interview, and I was just been so stuck from that. And I think that why it makes me nervous is that I guess it just makes me nervous. But interestingly, that behavioral part doesn't really.
Good, good. I think it's good. That's helpful to understand. So it's not really the behavioral part for you. It's more so you feel like you want to make sure you're as prepared as possible on the technical interview. And you bring up something really powerful. The fact that you've even had an interview thus far is a win. That is a win. And throughout this process, and we're supposed to talk more about this at the end, but we might as well talk about it now while it's coming up relevant in the conversation. Part of the mindset piece that can help you power through your job search is understanding two main things. Searching for a job is a full-time job. If you are looking for full-time employment, it does take time, right? It takes time. There's processes that you have to go through. And sometimes you may not be selected, and it doesn't have anything to do with your likability or your skill set. And you have to accept that, right? Because rejection is a part of this process. And whatever you have to do to get your daily dose of rejection therapy, do it, because that piece can actually really harm you. Your mindset can hurt you more than your ability in this process, right?
Yeah, sure.
So definitely make sure that you are fully understanding. It's kind of like a sales process. You welcome every no, because I only need one yes, right? Even if I have 5 offers on the table, I can only take one job. So I only need one company to be aligned with what I'm looking for, be offering the pay band that I find is acceptable and gets me excited, and have the type of, people that I can work for that I can feel proud about. I only need one. So if I got to go through a couple of no's to get that, it's just a part of the process. And it's very, very normal, right? And even very senior people have to go through the exact same thing. They have to show their skill set. They have to communicate what they know. And the thing that you have to remember on the entry level side is they're not looking for, what would be the right word? They're not looking for perfection by any stretch of imagination. What they're looking for is competency. Is this person a competent communicator? Can they express themselves well? Can they explain their ideas in a way that makes sense, right? Because if you don't know how to ask for help, you don't have self-awareness, you don't know how to communicate when you're stuck or when you don't understand something, you're going to be a challenge in general. You're going to have challenges in general. It don't have nothing to do with a job search. You're just going to have challenges in life. Like, you have to be able to communicate. Then the second thing that they're looking for is baseline technical skill set, right? Because they know the capabilities of their current team, right? Are you going to be someone that is going to mesh well with where the team is currently at? Can you keep up with the pace of delivery that they're going to try to coach you up to, right? Then the last thing is going to be eagerness and attitude. Does this person want to work? Or do they just want to get into software engineering because they think they're going to get a 6-figure job and they're going to be able to work from remote, and they're not really going to work most of the day, and they're going to do whatever they want? Like, what's the mindset that they have? Or is this person like, hey, this is what I know. I'm willing to learn whatever you're willing to teach. and I'm willing to always show up and try my best. It's like, all right, I can take a chance on somebody like that. So be keeping those things in mind. Tenacity, attitude, and basic competency are really the things they're looking for on the entry level side. Once you become a senior, yeah, I expect that if I give you a coding assignment, that it's correct when you send it back and that you do it in a timely manner and that you can answer more complex questions. But on the junior side, I've had students do coding assessments, technical assessments, hacker ranks, different things like that, and not do well on them, right? Because they just didn't have a lot of practice. That stuff takes practice. So, but they still got the job because they showed their work and they showed where their thought process was going. And the manager who knows line of sight is like, oh, okay, you get it. You missed the mark on where we needed you to get to, but from where you were going, you were right around the corner. Like you just needed to know to do X, Y, and Z, and I can teach you that, right? So don't be intimidated by them. They give you good practice. They're a good point of conversation. And test taking is a skill set. I know brilliant people that are terrible test takers, right? Interviewing is a skill set. I know brilliant people that are terrible at interviewing, right? Because they don't practice it. So this is a perfect opportunity to knock that out. All right, we're going to jump right into the narrative piece of it. I did a little research on Circle myself, obviously, because I've never heard of this company before in my entire life. They've got some interesting things going on, and we can talk about that here in a second, but I'll kick it off just like I would a normal interview. I do have one question. Oh, that question is irrelevant in this moment now. The young lady that was on but just dropped.
What happened?
I don't know. We lost her.
You lost her?
But I do need to know how to pronounce her name. So
Rukaya.
Ruraya?
Rukaya.
Rukaya. Okay. Rukaya. Okay, she jumps back in, then we'll just plug her right into the fun. So we'll start off with Caroline and Noah. Is Leah in the class or did Leah dip?
No, she's not here.
She's not here.
Okay. We'll give Rukaya a couple of seconds, see if she jumps back on. If not, I'll slack her and make sure everything's okay. Okay. All right. So Caroline, Noah, it's very nice to be with you all today. I'm super excited to learn more about you, share about the work that we're doing at the Circle, and honestly, just answer any questions you may have. But to get started, I want to give the both of you an opportunity to tell me a little bit more about you. I'd love to know why you're interested in a software development role with us, and specifically why our team. Okay, Caroline, I think it'd be nice if you were to start.
Okay, so my name is Caroline and I'm interested in joining Circle because of the high integrity that the company offers and the values that you have. I feel like that would be something as an entry level position, junior position as a software engineer, I would find that very beneficial. I also like the job description. I really would like to focus on the specific UIs that the company needs to enhance. But also I find really exciting the opportunity to develop sample applications. I feel like this would give me a lot of freedom and creativity, which I really value in the company.
Okay, wonderful. Noah, a little bit more about you and why you're interested in the Circle.
Hey, my name is Noah Kayat, and I'm a software developer, graduated CS student. The thing is that before, I always look what the companies does, what services provide to customers. This is my view because I was like a business owner, and I always view as a stakeholder, as a business owner, not as a normal employee. So I look what kind of services to provide to customers. So I kind of like what the companies does. It's like an innovative idea to transform the physical money to digital and from digital to physical. And I kind of like the idea. So the project, I want to involve more in the the like project. I want to work, like, I don't want to work only on software. I just want to work on other things. I just want to see what they, like other roles, like, I'm kind of excited to know that more technologies they have. Like I'm concerned about the project they have, what kind of project, because if, yeah, it's kind of concerning. So I was like reading about it. They offer like this technology, the blockchain, and how they monitor transactions. Kind of really, kind of like what the companies does is what kind of make me to go with this company. What kind of project they do, what kind of not the environment, but I'm concerned about the project and the services they provide to customers. That's good.
Okay, that's helpful. That's helpful. Okay, we're gonna pause for a quick second because we've got Rukia back. Are you good to go? Okay,
Yeah,
good.
sorry, I had internet issues.
No, it's okay. And the both of you have just delivered your narrative. Now, this is an unfair advantage that I have because I was there when you created your original narratives. The both of you have completely deviated from your original personal narrative, right? So we need to go back to the beginning and we need to level set for a quick second, right? Your personal narrative is something that is going to be asked in every interview that you have, right? At every level with every company. It needs to be sleek, it needs to be concise, but it also needs to do two things, okay? It needs to humanize who you are, right? Do not straight go into just naming off all of these facts about yourself. You are more than just your formal education, and you are more than just a completer or a graduate of this LearningFuze program. You are a beautiful person who has a lot to offer beyond just your technical skill sets. This is your opportunity to set that foundation. Don't miss that, right? Because this sets the stage for how you dictate the conversation and steward it forward. So take that opportunity to say, thank you. I'm excited to be here as well. A little bit about me is I'm from X, Y, and Z place, and I have a real interest in da 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 da. Right? I got my way into software engineering by this, that, and the third. These are the skill sets that I know. I recently completed this program. I was exposed to the circle because someone this and that. I noticed that you all are doing these really interesting things where you're taking digital into the physical realm. That really spoke to the creative side of what I like to do. And this entry-level front-end developer position seems aligned with me because of dot, 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 dot. Like you need to polish it because what's going to happen is if you just tell me a bunch of your personal narrative is your opportunity to set the stage of who you are in relation to your resume, but beyond it. Does that make sense? I know you completed a LearningFuze program because I read your resume. I know that you don't have any hands-on experience because I have your resume in front of me. So what are you going to do to kind of like tell that story beyond it? This is your chance and you need to take full advantage of it, right? Because whenever I have to interview 10, 15 candidates back to back over the course of a couple of days, they begin to run together, right? I have great memory, but they begin to run together. Especially if there's the same skill sets and it's for the same position. What stands out is, oh, Caroline, she's a young lady from X, Y, and Z area. She just did this really interesting thing and da 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 da. She was passionate about the circle because it did the integrity and these different pieces and the freedom and the clarity, all of that, right? So, Caroline, things that I thought that you did really well that I think you should absolutely keep. The piece about the values is powerful. Just personalize and polish it. Stick with the narrative that you've already written, but how is your one or two lines about the circle gonna be relevant, right? Don't overthink it. You've got the values, you've got the freedom. I like what you said about their approach, how they do the freedom and the creativity. I like that. That was really unique and that was super authentic to the way you communicate. Keep that. Girl, you started saying some whole other stuff that I don't even know what you're talking about. I've never heard you say any of that other stuff before. never heard you say any of that other stuff before. And then Noah, you came in there and remixed it as well. I never heard you say none of that stuff before. It wasn't bad. I liked Noah. I liked that you talked about your business acumen and how you approach things from the view of a stakeholder. I liked that a lot. I thought that was
Getting hired? Oh, damn.
I thought that was strong. And I liked how you talked about the work that they do and how they take things from the digital to through the physical. That was a really cool way to frame up what they do, right? However, I would say rein those in just a little bit. Now what happened to Caroline? She's gonna be okay?
Yeah, she left somewhere.
Oh, there's the
Yeah.
all right. Rukia, am I saying that properly?
Rukaya.
Rukaya, okay, because I was adding spice in the wrong areas. Got it. Rukaya, we're gonna go ahead and do your personal narrative. I'm gonna tee you up the same way. And Noah, if you want to give yours a second go, you can. Let's let Rukaya go first, and then you can go. Okay. All right, Rukaya, it's great to be here.
I'm sorry, before you start, is it okay if I just read right now? Because honestly, I haven't like prepared it very well.
It's
So,
fine. Do it with some charisma, right?
Yeah.
You read and we listening, like make it fun for us, but yeah, it's fine. Okay. All right. So Rukaya, it's so great to meet you. My name is Tennille. I'm very excited to talk to you more about the circle, talk to you more about the kind of work we do and the team that you applied for. But to start, can you tell me a little bit more about you, who you are, your background, and why you're interested in this position?
Hi, Tennille. It's so great to meet you. So I am full stack developer with a passion for building user-centered applications. I recently graduated from a full stack development program at LearningFuze. There I built several full stack applications and participated in hackathons. So during my time at the program, I developed a strong foundation in JavaScript, TypeScript, Node.js, React, and PostgreSQL. Uh, but in addition to that, I have also completed several self-paced courses on Codecademy and Free Code Camp to deepen my understanding of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So yeah, before transitioning into tech, I worked in education, and that taught me a lot of skills. It taught me how to be patient because, of course, you need that with adolescents. So um, uh, I was yeah, so basically it was during that time when I just learned how to, even stay adaptable and pay attention to detail. So I believe all of these skills have been incredibly helpful in my development journey. Um, I am extremely excited about the possibility of becoming a circler because I truly admire how the company, integrates the community impact into its mission. That really aligns with my own values, and it makes me feel like I'd be joining a team that cares about making a difference beyond just code.
Very good. Very good. Very good. That last bit, that was perfect. So that last bit, how you brought it all together, I really like that because you definitely got straight into the business. Okay. We got straight to the facts and I liked that. It worked. You made it work. Okay. Couple key things I want to call out because this is really, I think, my first time hearing your narrative delivered. I think we talked about some things via Slack, but this is the first time hearing it. Sounded good. It was a good pace. It was good tone and cadence. I like the part where you talk about user-centered applications. That's you like to make user-centric things. I like that. And then you quantified it by talking about the 7 applications that you created during the program. I also thought it was a strong add to note that you've done some self-paced courses, right? That shows initiative, that shows tenacity, that shows, hey, if I don't know how to do something, I'm going to take the wherewithal to go and learn it. Always a strong add. One area that I liked that I do think you can beef up just a little bit would probably be the education piece. Strong connector there, saying that previously you were in education. People love to hear that, especially in software development. Some of the transferable skill sets you started to call out were strong. I think you could add to that list, right? You mentioned adaptability, attention to detail. I think that you also have to have really strong communication skills working with adolescents, as well as collaboration, working in like that kind of education sector, you have to be very collaborative. You have to be able to cross-functionally work with different departments. Those are all transferable skill sets that go straight into working on a software engineering team, right?
Sorry, I'm interrupting you here. So I just wanted to say something that I had those skills, but I kind of like changed those to match with what was on the Circle website. Uh,
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. That's a good way to go about it. I like it. In general, you can keep the
I
other ones in
those.
addition as well, because they're also strong, right? Like they're not going to want somebody who's adaptable but can't communicate, because that would be crazy, right? So it's like, okay, so you're good to keep them. I like that though. Now let me tell you where you won me over, because you did win me over. So let me tell you where you won me over. When you mentioned the circler, right? Because that shows that you really did go read the website. Like, you know that they have this internal term and this internal culture that you think is really adaptable and is really in line with your own values. And then you called out why. Again, don't just say it, put some beef behind it. And you did. And you said the way that what they do goes back into the community really stood out with you. I would remember that. I would be like, oh, yeah. I remember that. Okay, any questions for me about personal narratives? The main thing that I just want to emphasize is that do not feel obliged to completely metamorph your personal narrative for every interview that you have. No, this personal narrative should be, I'd say 6 to 8, no more than 10 sentences, really something you could deliver in less than a minute, right? That really just tells them a little bit about who you are, what's important to you, and why that's in alignment with what they are looking for, right? Of course, we want to touch on some of the technical, but you wouldn't be in the conversation if they didn't know that you had HTML and CSS. It's good to call it out and like make it relevant. But I just wouldn't, y'all are going to have 30 minutes, 40 minutes to talk about all of that. So give them an opportunity to set the stage. This is also an opportunity. Your personal narrative is your perfect opportunity to high level start to position against any risk, right? So like for me, I have a very diverse background. I've done a lot of different things, kind of all stays under the same umbrella, but you see how hard I'm squinting, right? Like it's under the same umbrella, but it's not the same thing. Like I haven't just been a career coach, a career coach, a career coach, a career coach. I've done enterprise staffing sales. I've done enterprise partnership development. I've built go-to-market teams. I've worked directly in workforce development. So some people, they don't understand. They don't understand. It's too big. It's too nebulous. So I have to be the one that reins that in and polishes that up and presents that in a way where they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. She was in clown school and then she went and was a dolphin trainer and now she's here. It all makes sense. We got it. Yeah, you know what I mean? You have to be the one to do that. Don't wait on the recruiter to do that for you, okay? And you can do that in your narrative, right? Simply enough by saying, hey, before this, I did a number of different things. Some of the transferable skill sets that came from that are boom, 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 boom. Okay, good. Let's take a moment to look at the STAR method. Now, Caroline, I know you and I talked about the STAR method, but has anyone else been exposed to this way of answering interview questions?
Is it similar to the behavioral interview questions in the Google Doc? Because it was like creating the slides. Is it the same thing, right? The most
No.
important.
So good question. Good question. So no, those are questions that a recruiter will might ask you. Those are suggested questions that a recruiter might ask you. And I'll show you all how to get to the doc that Noah is referring to because it's a great resource. But this method is a method for answering those questions. Okay. So this is what sometimes happens in a job interview. What sometimes happens is people get really excited and then they're like having a great time. It's a party. Like you're my friend, I'm your friend, like we're totally BFFing. And then you get out of the interview and you all didn't really answer any of the questions, right? You didn't really answer the questions. Maybe it was a feel-good time, but the question wasn't answered. And your ability to quantify value is what you're doing the whole interview, okay? So this method is pretty simple. Everyone knows what a star is and everybody knows how to spell that, okay? So it's 4 parts to answering in a STAR method. The first is situation, right? When someone asks you an interview question, you can use a situation from your personal life, from a previous industry, from your schooling, training, anything, but you need to give the person you're responding to a little bit of information, right? Like, I don't need to know the ins and outs of what was happening, but I need context so I can understand why what you're saying is important. So spend about 20% of what you're saying on the situation. So if you had a minute, you spend less than 10 seconds, like just saying, yeah, when I worked at XYZ company as a teacher, there was this situation, right? Then you'll talk about the task. This should really be like a sentence. This is a challenge or a responsibility or a goal or a task that you had in that situation that is relevant to the question that's being asked, right? Tennille, tell me about a time when you were really, really happy. Well, a situation was when I was on a family trip to Disney World, and the objective at hand was to have as much fun as possible, right? Like, you are giving a one-liner so that I understand how what you're about to tell me is relevant to the question that I asked you. Then here's the most important part. Action. That's the A. This is going to take up the majority of your answer. This is where you're kind of bulleting to me. What actions did you take? Okay. The tricky thing sometimes with this one is when you're referring to maybe like a group project or something of the sort, we'll tend to talk about, we did this, we did that. I don't want to know about what we did. I want to know about what you did. How did you contribute to what was happening, and why was that valuable and important? People sometimes tend with the actions to get like a little too granular, like they get a little too detailed, right? Tell me the high level themes of what you were doing, okay? If it was asking you a technical question like, hey, what did you do whenever you were getting an error in your code? Tell me about a time when that happened. How did you approach it? What was the outcome, right? Say, oh, when I was a student at LearningFuze in a full stack web development program, the task, I was given an assignment to code some things. I don't know what you all are given assignments to do, but I was given an assignment, to build a web application. The challenge that I had was I got stuck. I kept getting this error code on this one output. The actions that I took are, I first reviewed the documentation that had been provided to me by my instructor. Then after that, I went and did some additional research to see if there were any examples on how to properly execute this code online. Then when that didn't get me very much further, I reached out to a peer to see if they could take a look at my code and do some kind of peer review for me to see if they were missing something that I couldn't. Lastly, I escalated it to my team lead or my instructor, who helped me to reverse the code, do this, do that, Python. And then the result was I had a clean code, right? You see how the actions are kind of grouped? I'm not literally telling them every exact thing that I did, but I'm giving them a framework for, hey, if I worked at your company and I got stuck on something, which is a normal thing that happens, right? This is what I would do. I wouldn't just sit on my hands for half a day and talk to my cat about it. I would look at the documentation you provided me. I would rerun the code a couple of times. I would reach out to a coworker. I would escalate it to my manager if I had spent more than 2 hours on it and couldn't move it forward. That's what they're trying to understand, right? So,
I have like an experience about this. It's an actual code, but it can be reflected in real life. So it's so if you don't know how to explain the problem and know what is the problem very well, and if you're not like able to explain what is the problem, what is happening, no one can be able to solve it.
Exactly.
So I had this issue earlier. Like, I was like unable to explain the problem to get help. Like, tell me what do you want? I keep like not able to explain the problem. And the other person was like confused what to do and giving me like a random solution because I was not able to give the right explanation of the problem.
Exactly. That's actually, I'm glad you mentioned that, because again, that's gonna be something, and that's gonna be normal, right? Like I know what you mean. I experienced this in a class in my master's program where I called my friend. I said, I don't know what to do. She said, well, what's wrong? I said, I don't even know how to ask for help because I just don't understand what they gave me. And I don't even know how to explain to them that I need them to say everything in a different way. Like she'd given us this assignment and I didn't even know how to explain, like, no, I just genuinely don't understand what you've given me at all. Like I didn't even know how to ask the questions, right? So this is again, that is something that can come up. And again, that's what they're wanting to know and understand is how you can approach those kind of things, right? The last 10%, which is probably the most important part, arguably, is making sure that there is a positive outcome that you are speaking to. Don't get tripped up. Sometimes they're going to ask you questions that sound overtly negative, and it is your job to put a positive spin on them, right? Tell me about a time when you got negative feedback. How did you handle that? Tell me about a time when something didn't work out the way that you wanted it to work out. What was the situation? How did you respond to it, right? In those situations, you still need to come up with a positive response. The positive response could be a positive outcome, or it could be a lesson learned, right? Everything, it's not always going to work out the way that we'd hope to work out. Sometimes deadlines will be missed. Sometimes customers will be disappointed. Sometimes I will make a mistake, but am I able to take ownership of that mistake and learn from it? Or when somebody asks me about it, am I pointing fingers and pointing blame or being negative, right? So never fall prey to those questions. They definitely come up, and they're good questions for an interviewer to ask because people will tell on themselves, which is crazy. So don't be people. Don't be people. You guys don't know how many people I ask, if I ask other coworkers, what would they tell me about you? And they're like, oh, they might say that I'm lazy or this or that. I'm like, baby, you can't tell me that. You can't tell me that. I have to take you seriously, But it's a thing. I'm being funny, but I'm being very serious. So be careful what you say in an interview. Okay. Now let's click off with the interview part. Now this is how we're going to work together. Okay. This is what I need everybody's agreement on. And Trey, if you're able to be on camera, that's helpful for the team. We're going to go through a series of questions. Since now there's 4 of you, I'll probably have 2 people tackle a question, then go to the other 2 people to tackle the next question. As a group, after the 2 have gone and given their answers, we're going to give them some feedback, right? Did they use the STAR method? Should they use a different example, or was the response complete and we think it was strong, right? Any questions about that?
Not about that, but I do have like one question. How do you answer this question? Why shouldn't we hire you?
Why shouldn't we, or should we?
Why shouldn't we? That was one of the questions in the behavioral PDF that was shared.
Mhm.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Why shouldn't we hire you? That is a tricky one. I would honestly laugh if someone actually answered that. But you know what I would say? I'm a smart, this is recorded. I have to be very careful what I say. Okay, so what I would say in the why shouldn't we answer you question is I would respond and I would say something like, that's a really funny question. It's something I've never actually been asked before, because I've never been asked that in an actual interview. It's usually why should we? But I think that if you're not looking for someone who's going to kind of challenge process, who's going to look to move things forward, who's going to be open-minded and agile, if you like to do things the same, if you're okay with the status quo, then I'm not somebody that you should hire. Because it's the truth. If y'all want me to come in here and like keep up with the keeping up and keep things the same and not try to improve things and not try to make things more automated, more efficient, regardless of what the title of my role is, I am not someone that you should hire. So the way you would answer it, that was a good question. The way you would answer it is always with a double negative, right? So that it cancels itself out. So you shouldn't hire me if you want someone hardworking, tenacious, someone who's going to really try to make things better, or, someone who is looking for growth and is looking for opportunities to take on more responsibility and advance throughout this company, right? I wouldn't be a good fit. So I would to answer that question, you answered in the negative. Focus on the reasons why they should hire you, and then say, if you're not looking for those things, then you shouldn't hire me.
Got it. Thank you.
I would put a red asterisk next to that company afterwards. I tell you, I would be like, these people, they got too much time on their hands. All right. STAR method. Wait, hold on. Let me grab the interview stuff. Now, Trey, you can drop in the chat or come off mute to let us know. Are you able to participate, or you'll be listening into this session? We'll give him a second. Where is my interview theme? Give me 1 second, guys. Here we are.
I can do my best to participate.
Oh, okay. Hey, no, I mean, if you've got to listen in, for some reason, that's understandable. Just want to know, because we don't want to call on you thinking you're going to be involved if you're unable to be involved. Let's see here. Okay. So we're going to team you up. Trey and Caroline, you'll be together at Noah and Rukia.
Close. Rukaya.
Kaya.
Rukaya.
Spell it different here. Rukaya.
Hi.
Double emphasis.
She's really rich person.
Rukaya. It's such a beautiful name.
Yeah,
I got it. All right, you all ready for the fun? You have some fun with this. Keep the STAR method up for now, but if you want me to take it down. Okay, Noah and Rukaya, you're up first. Question for the both of you. Tell me about a time when you had to adjust to a coworker or colleague's working style to complete a project. What was the scenario? How did you have to adjust, and what was the outcome? Either of you decide who you'd like to go first.
I'll take some time to think about it. Noah, would you like to go first?
Okay, yeah, I was reading about this question in the slides. Yeah, sometimes when the colleagues, like each one think himself as a boss and doesn't listen to the other team member, which is really destructive to the project. So whenever we have like 3 people or 4 people working on a project, one of them should be the team leader. Everybody need to listen to that team leader. Because if everybody's suggesting, we do this, like it's gonna be confusing. So in each group, we have like a 3 or even 2. One of them is gonna be the team lead, and the other person is gonna be listening to the team lead, which is gonna solve the issue.
Pause for me 1 second. You're describing to me things that I think are aligned, but we want to put it in the STAR method. Answer it how you would answer an interview question. A time, Tennille, whenever I had a situation where I didn't agree with a colleague was X, Y, and Z. The situation was this, and these were the actions that I took. The result was this. Frame it up in the STAR method. Because right now you're taking me through things that are relevant. They are relevant. If one of the actions that you took was assigning a lead person to direct, then that was one of the actions you took. But what was the situation and what was the task at hand? So let's reframe. I'm going to re-ask the question, and I want you to deliver it as an interview response, right? Noah, what was a time that you had to work with someone, or you had to adjust to a working situation or a colleague that you didn't see the eye to eye, you didn't have the same working styles? What was the situation and what was the outcome?
Yeah, so.
Can I ask something? So what if in that moment, we cannot think of a situation, that has happened? Can we make up one?
Yes. So you've got options. This is actually a perfect question, right? You've got options. You've got a couple of options. So let's talk through them, okay? You can always make something up. You just gotta make it up and make it relevant to the STAR method, right? A time when I had a work situation where I didn't get along with someone was when I worked at McDonald's. Never worked there. The situation was I had a new like fry cook. Me and this person just had completely different working styles. Some of the actions that I took in that role to kind of better get along with the fry cook and make sure that we were getting orders out on time was I just submitted to what they thought was best and let them lead in the kitchen. And I stayed at the front of the house. If I did have to interact with them, I just kept it really short, concise, and respectful. And lastly, I just, made sure that I always had all of my closing day procedures done prior so that I could kind of just stay out of the fry cook's way and let them have domain over the kitchen. The result was we were able to meet all of our quality goals. I didn't have any major issues and I quickly got myself up out of that job, right? Like whatever. Like it isn't, you can make it up if you can remember it and if you can deliver it well. Doesn't benefit you to make up stuff that you're not going to be able to remember. Doesn't benefit you to make up stuff that's going to contradict anything that you say later. Okay. So typically you can get away with it, especially if you have good memory and you have the gift of gab. Still follow the scenario. Your second option is you can ask for more time. I would do this seldomly throughout an interview, right? If I got 30 minutes to talk to you and I've got 4 or 5 questions I'm trying to get through, and on 3 of those questions you ask for more time, I'm going to assume that you are unprepared. You're just not prepared, right? Because the questions are going to be framed differently, but the baseline examples should be the same. So that question specifically is asking when you had to adjust to someone who was different than you. We are all different than each other. So whether you're talking about a high school project, a thing that something that you had to do for church, a time when you were planning something for your family, a school project, a volunteer activity, there's so many options. There's so many things you could pull from. The underlying theme is what is it that you do when your working style doesn't match with someone else's and you all still have something that you need to get done, right? So if somebody did not have an example of that makes me think that either they don't have a lot of work experience in general or they've just been blessed and everybody they always have to do things with, they get along with. Like, I just would have a hard time believing that as an interviewer, right? Now, the third thing that you can do is you can ask them to come back. So that's a really good question. Never thought of that about that before. Can I come back to that question? Again, wouldn't use that more than once or twice in an interview. If I'm asking you questions and every question you need to come back to, you're not prepared. You're not prepared. And that's okay. It's okay. It's just not going to work in your favor, right? Because you should know that we are here to talk about your work experience. We're here to talk about how you work with other people. It's a behavioral interview. We're going to be talking about what you're good at, what you're bad at, and why you're interested in the job. If you cannot answer those questions, I'm going to think that you have a crippling shyness or you are unprepared. And unfortunately, neither one of those work in your favor. All right. Now, asking for more time is fine. Asking them to repeat the question in a different way is fine. And asking them to come back to the question is fine. Again, use those tactics with discernment. Now, the fourth way you can go about it, and I think, Noah, this is what you were trying to do, is say, I just cannot think of a specific time. It's just not coming to mind. I'm losing time. I need to spit something out. I would say, I can't think of a specific time that I had, to work on a project with someone who didn't have the same working style, even though I'm sure that it's happened. But in a situation where I did have to work with someone and the task at hand was that we needed to work together and we just couldn't get along, some of the actions that I would take would be to have a collaborative meeting with them and try to understand their point of view. Maybe the second thing that I would do is just see if we could put someone else to lead out the project and follow their direction. The third thing that I would do if neither one of those things worked is I would probably involve a manager or a team lead, someone who could act as a mediator to help us get on the same page. But overall, the result, in my opinion, would be to figure out the best way for us to still reach the goal, right? You can take that general approach. My warning to you is that if you generalize everything, it's just not gonna give you. Think of the example that I gave you earlier. I interviewed 10 people over 2 days. Who do you think I'm going to remember? The person that gave me a bunch of generalized answers that I could have got from ChatGPT, or the person who gave me real life scenarios that I can kind of put with them and their personality and what they know and how they apply it, right? It's not going to help you stand out, giving a whole bunch of generalizations. Now, again, there may be questions that you just genuinely need to generalize because you don't have an authentic answer to provide and you can't think of one quickly, but you can at least imagine, what would I do if I was working with someone who was super difficult or that I found super difficult? How would I approach that, right? And you should have a tactic for that. Again, I just wouldn't do it for every answer. I wouldn't do it for most answers. I would be as specific and authentic and true as possible because it's just going to get you further, right? Okay, let's try this again. I need 2 new answers from the both of you. We're going to go back to the question and we kind of need to move through the rest of these at a different pace, okay? So we've gotten some upfront feedback and we kind of see how we can apply things. I like that you all are asking questions throughout, so keep doing that, okay? But let's jump back into mock interviewing mode for a quick second. Rukiah and Noah. We'll start with Rukiah this time. Talk to me about a time where you had to work with someone who had a different working style than you. It could be in any scenario that you feel is relevant. What was the situation? How did you approach it? And what was the outcome?
So it was during my time at the web development program that I was doing at LearningFuze. We were teamed up for a hackathon, and since it was a group of 4, it was a little difficult to work with everybody because everybody has their own style of working. And there were times when there were disagreements in the group. But I think what I did was I just, would patiently listen to, why a specific person is, trying to handle a situation that way. So we were asked to write a code for a program. And that person wanted to do things a little differently than I did. So I just gave that person some time to explain their thought process to me. And I was trying to understand why he or she wanted to do it that way. Uh, and then, uh, I mean, once you know what the other person is thinking, it's easier to, put your point across and try to get, try to explain to them what you're thinking. So that is what I did. And then eventually we came to like a mutual agreement of, how to do the project and eventually delivered it.
I like that. We're going to talk about your response in a second, but I thought that was pretty concise. Noah?
Yeah, I had the same thing. I was like going to talk about the same thing actually, the hackathon we had. So yeah, the thing is we had this, we were working on a project or like 3 of us, and there was like a lot of like a suggestion, the talking like mixing together, and everybody do this, don't do this, and this was causing the issue. So then I suggested, well, what about we just make one as the team lead and he's the boss and he can tell us what to do. And we're like switching between each other. So like each time is gonna be someone's gonna be the team lead and leading us what to do. So we can each one like knowing the thinking and the process. And by doing this, by doing so, we were able to deliver the project and doing it really quickly. And then we all agreed to be one is the team lead always. And that was really, although that person was really like, it doesn't want to listen to anyone and think himself he knows everything, but after that he was like right, and he was the most knowledgeable person. And after listening to him, he was like, we understand what he wants, and then we are able to deliver the project quickly. Because imagine like if you are in a company and the person is really smart, he's able to deliver the product. But probably the problem is with you, not with that person. If the person has the knowledge, but you are not agree how he talks, how he probably is rude, he's not that social. So you need to probably ask him how he perceive the problem, how he look at it, to see what he's thinking, see how he looks at problem, so you can learn from it. Because probably the problem with you, not with that person. That's what I think.
Okay. Both of your answers are definitely going in the right direction, right? Rukiah, things that stood out well that I thought, I like that you had a specific scenario around the hackathon. Noah, I think it's good for you to frame it that way as well, since that was the situation you were referring to. It's good to start it up. Tighter startup, Noah. What is the situation? The situation was when I was in that full stack web development program that I mentioned to you, I was on a team of 4 to conduct a hackathon. The challenge was we had a lot of differing approaches to the hackathon. The actions I took to help my team move forward and to bring cohesion was I suggested that we do rotating team leads, so on and so forth, right? I thought the actions were there. I do want you all to, as a group, focus on, make sure you provide the actions. I need to know what you did, right? The whole reason why you're telling me all of this stuff is so I can understand what you did and what the outcome was, right? Everything is secondary to that. So make sure you lead with that. Noah, yours was really a big turnaround, a big, strong turnaround. And then you started going on a tangent towards the end. Make sure that you were good after you explained that you all delivered everything quickly and on time, and had decided that moving forward, you were going to rotate team leads or project leads or however you wanted to name it. Everything from that point forward, you didn't need to add. It was strong. You started adding filler information that wasn't required. So be careful with that. Remember, the goal of a question like that, and let me pull this up because I think you all have seen this. You've referenced it. Well, two of you have referenced this. In Handshake, under the resources section, there is this behavioral interview guide. Let me explain this document because sometimes people don't understand the power in it. This is behavioral interview questions from the perspective of the recruiter. So it gives you insight into when a recruiter asks you a question, what is it that they're looking to hear for, right? Perfect example. I just asked you all one of these questions. I asked you question number 5. Tell me about a time when you had to adjust to a colleague's working style in order to complete a project or achieve your outcomes. What are they listening for? They are looking for your willingness to be flexible when it's required, your ability to reflect on what you've learned for the experience, both good or bad, right? Are you going to take that question and use it as an opportunity to talk trash about a past coworker, job, or experience? Or are you going to use that opportunity to talk about how and highlight how you take actions in situations that are beyond your control? I cannot control somebody's attitude. I cannot control if somebody wants to be a good team player, but the customer's project is still due when the customer's project's due, whether I like you or not. So how are we going to work together during that process? And you will meet people in the working world, which I think all of you have been employed before. You will meet people, they just suck. They're just not good people. I'm sorry. I'm not supposed to say that. I'm really not. My church wouldn't be happy with me right now. But there's some people that they're just unfavorable. They're just unfavorable. And you're going to have to still work with them anyways. And you're going to have to be positive, and you're going to have to figure out, even though I don't agree with the way you're going about it, even though I don't love your approach or your attitude, how can we still be productive? That's what that question is looking for, okay? So good job. Good job. Moving forward, next question is going to be for Caroline and Trey. We're going to stay in the adaptability realm. If my screen could do what I'm asking it to do, what's going on? Well, my screen is stuck. Love that. Give me 1 second, guys. There we go. Adaptability realm. Caroline and Trey, tell me about a time. All right, I'll give you all an easy one here. Tell me about a time when you were asked to do something that you've never done before. What was the situation? How did you react? And, ultimately, like, what did you learn from it? And before either one of you answers, I will caveat by saying that still follow the STAR method. Even though there's kind of layers to the question, By following the STAR method, you'll answer all the layers. So don't get thrown off when the question is kind of layered or it's not asked in a way that you're normally used to it being asked. Typically, by following the STAR method, you will still hit all areas of the question, okay? So again, question one more time. Caroline, we're going to start with you. Tell me about a time when you were asked to do something that you had never done before. How'd you react? What'd you learn?
So when I was working in the fish bistro, I had to learn how to clean fish out from their guts, and I found it really difficult for me because it was pretty unusual. I never thought I would have to do something like that. But upon talking with my manager and trying to, I can't, got lost in my story.
Okay.
Sorry.
Caroline, we cannot, this is recorded, we crash out on the recording, okay?
Let me try again.
Okay, you absolutely
again.
try again.
Your
But,
story.
okay, no, you're
Okay.
fine. Now, Caroline, I do have to ask, this fish story, it seems intriguing. I just don't know why we're going down that rabbit hole. You all should take your low-hanging fruit and eat it. You are in a full stack web development program. You've never done that before. You could use any one of the examples of anything that you did in your program, right? Like, you don't get
Okay,
together.
back to reality.
You can
Okay.
ask a friend.
So
Okay.
I was put in front of this situation in my camp where I had to learn how to use a new library when I was working on my last project, and it was the task was to integrate the AI response with the graph, and the action I took was I chose to read all the documentation, just make sure I understand the chart library very well. And I think that the result of my ability to quickly learn something gave good results.
Okay, not bad. We'll talk about it in a second. Trey, your turn. Talk to me. Let me reframe the question for you one more time. When you had to do something you've never done before, how did you react? What was the outcome?
That's a very interesting question, Tanil. Thank you. One time that comes to mind is I was tasked to create some PowerShell scripts to automate some processes that we were doing manually, and I was not familiar with how to do those. So my initial reaction was I was eager to take on the challenges because I enjoy challenges, and so immediately I started asking questions of, since this is completely new, who can I speak to when questions arise? What kind of time frame do I have to develop what you're looking for? And once we got to the bottom of that, I had a few questions along the way. My supervisor told me I could go straight to him with the questions, and I was able to accomplish everything ahead of the schedule. And in the process, I ended up being able to automate scripts for everyone but one person on the entire team. So we had a really good outcome of that, and it increased the efficiency throughout the whole team.
Good. That was a good, well-rounded response. This is helpful. This is a perfect example. Okay, so let's talk about this. Let's debrief for a quick second. So I think both of you did follow the STAR method. We did follow the STAR method. Caroline had a little interruption there, but you did follow the STAR method in turn for the most part. Trey, don't forget to set the situation up. You can go straight into the task. It's just nice to have a one-liner to let me know what company that was at or what role you were in when you were doing it, and then go straight into the task, which was you had to create some PowerShell scripts that you had never done that before. Bonus points for answering the second question in that secondary line by saying that your reaction to it was you're excited because you're excited to learn new things. That's helpful. Any response in that, any emotion that you share in that reaction can be powerful as long as you frame it correctly, okay? Then the next thing is you talked about actions. I thought you could go a little deeper on actions there, right? Some of the actions that you took where you asked a lot of questions, you kind of created a plan with your manager, and then you executed. I think that me knowing you and a little bit, knowing some of your background, I think you could make that a little bit more powerful, really quantify the way you approach new problems, right? Everything you needed was there. It's just you have the ability to flex that a little bit more. Lastly, I thought the result was perfect. You talked about the fact that you achieved the initial goal and that you increased efficiency within the organization or in the team. That was great. Caroline, I thought your example was good, right? I know the situation you were at a summer camp. I understand the task. You had to clean fish. That's something you hadn't done before. You told me some of the actions that you took and then the outcome. My advice to you all would be, who on this call has actually worked in tech before? I know Trey's situation. Noah, you've not worked in tech before, right?
No.
No,
I've
but
only worked in sales. Maybe I should use
Sales.
that.
okay. Yes. If you've not directly worked for a tech company or in the tech industry or in a technical role, your next best bet when you're looking for the most relevant examples to use would be roles where you can call out transferable skill sets, right? So if you worked in a sales job, then I would say, oh, a situation where I had to do something new was when I had actually spent a little bit of time working in sales. The task at hand was that I had to call people and ask them to renew. I had to call people and solicit them for their business. And I had never done anything like that before. Some of the actions that I took were I wrote out myself a call script. I practiced with my teammates, and then I just really jumped into it until I improved at the skill. The result was I closed X amount of business and it became the lead salesperson, whatever the outcome was. And when you do that, when you have to use something related, you have the opportunity after you answer the question to tie it back to tech by saying, the outcome was I actually exceeded all my quarterly numbers. And even though in the beginning I was afraid and unsure, I ended up being really, really good at it. And what that taught me is that I have the capability to learn new skills and apply them fairly quickly. And then they're like, oh, okay, so if she can do that, she can. So there's ways to do it. Another thing to keep in mind is as you're interviewing, again, the expectation is not for you to be perfect. You guys will hear me say this all the time. Fall on the sword. Don't become self-deprecating by any means, but fall on the sword when you have to, right? And say, hey, I know I just said a lot. I know how to answer that question. Was that what you were looking for? Or did that answer the original question that you asked? Is there anywhere you need me to provide clarity, right? Doing those little things whenever you deliver an answer that you're not certain about is helpful, because then you don't just push it under the rug and move forward, and then they didn't really get what they needed. You didn't feel confident about your answer. They can say, well, that was a lot of information, but I'm not sure it answered what I need to know. What I'm really trying to understand is, how do you Can you speak more to that, right? Part of what you're going to have to do throughout an interview is take control, not in a bossy way, right? Like, this is my interview and I want it now, like, not like that, but more softly, where you're kind of like directing the interviewer where you need them to go and making sure that they are getting all the information that they need to make a well-rounded decision, okay? Any questions so far? Good. Let's pick up the pace and move on to 2 new questions, right? For Noah and Rukia. Let's see. This one's fun. Okay. Try to apply the STAR method, but it could be tricky. This one is more of a direct answer question. Those do come up. So you can just directly answer this question. But Noah, what is a misconception that sometimes your coworkers may have about you? Not the eye roll, Noah, you can't do that in an interview.
The thing is, I want to speak, like I'm kind of like to question more about the business or like, why do you like our company? Why do you want to work?
Yeah.
But for the colleagues, the thing is, I never been in this because I always been as the like a business owner. So
No,
I
that's
don't like I
that's
don't like
fair.
being when I was like colleague. But for my what I can do if we're working with colleague,
Hmm.
I would like a misconception about me, like um
And I'll say, Noah, for you, since that's been most of your background has been like being a business owner, you can frame, again, you can frame it that way. These are your answers, right? So you can say, honestly, a lot of my time has been spent in more of like, because even in a leadership role, you still have colleagues, right? You have business partners, you have people that you work with out in the community that support your business, vendors, etc. So what is something that people working with you who maybe don't know you very well may have a misconception about you, you know? This question is looking for awareness and accountability.
um yeah, can I skip that? I don't like
We'll
that.
come back to you. So this would be a moment for you to practice saying that's a really good question. Can I have a few moments to think on this, or can I come back to this question? Right?
Yeah.
That's when you would exercise that. Okay, Rukia, same question for you.
I think I've just observed at all of my, previous jobs that a lot of my coworkers feel that, I'm a very quiet and serious person. But I think once they do get to know me, or like, especially in times when we have like one-on-one sessions, they, figure out that, I am not the quiet person that they think I was, because then, within that one conversation, I can tell them my entire life story. So I think,
Okay.
yeah, that is the misconception that people have about me.
That's good. That is a clear cut, like that's an easy one. That's a low hanging fruit one. I love that. And one thing that you could do with this question, if you wanted to stretch it into a star type of answer, is you could say, sometimes in work situations, people think that I'm oftentimes very quiet or reserved. And some actions that I take to kind of overcome that are to set up one-on-one time with folks to kind of, make sure that I do my due diligence to introduce people and block off time that's not like project related. And the result is that normally once someone gets some one-on-one time with me, they realize that although I'm very focused and very, work driven, I am very personable. And like you just said, I tell my whole life story in a 30-minute conversation, So you can, because people do want to understand that. It's a good question because it also helps them to understand, like I said, your level of social awareness, right? You should have an answer for it, right? Like, so that's one that's tricky. You probably won't get asked that. I've never been asked that question, but I've been asked things that force me to, like, oh, like what would my old supervisor or my old teammates or my old subordinates, what would they think is like my biggest area of growth? I've been asked that before. Or what is one thing that other people would say that I do really well? Or how would my friends and family describe what I do really well versus what I need to improve on? I've been asked questions like that. And similar to Noah, I roll my eyes in the back of my head every time because I'm like, why you care? They not gonna be working here. Okay. But it's like, it's just, it's good to see that self-awareness. Noah, do you want to take a second stab at that question?
Yeah, yeah, like yeah, people like preserving as a like a serious. They're letting notice. See me like a serious, although I'm like kind of a really funny and social person.
Mhm.
I like to go through like introduce myself to everybody. Although they look at me from the far, like, oh, it looks serious, it looks like mean sometimes, but when they know me better, they can see me that I'm social. At the same time, I'm kind of Well, like I like the other people like respect my ideas. Well, like for business, for example, like in the circle, like how they like appreciate innovative ideas, not like they don't care about the and treat everybody as a stakeholder, which is a really like this in the circle company. That's the example.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know if that can went
I
like
like that awareness piece that you can come off as serious because you're a serious guy. Yeah. When I think of you, I think it's serious. So it is true. You do kind of come off serious, but you're fun. You are fun. Look at you smiling and laughing, having joy. You're fun. So I think it's good for you to call that out because they'll be like, okay, and that could if I were interviewing you, I would bite onto that. And I'd be like, well, tell me more about what you like to do for fun, right? What energizes you? What motivates you? What kind of leadership? That would take us down a whole different rabbit hole of questions, you sharing something like that. So I think that's good. Okay. Let's go on to Trey and Caroline. Question for you all. Okay.
that's
What are the 3 most important things that you're looking for in your next role? We'll start with Caroline.
I am looking for, in my next role as a junior software developer, I'm looking for a good team that I would fit into. I am looking for good values in the company that will value my time and effort and work that I would put in. And then I am looking for the opportunity to grow.
I like that you call out that you're looking for a good team and good values, but that can be so relative. Can you help me understand what a good team feels like for you?
A good team for me would be people that I get along with naturally, like people who have very good communication skills, like I do. People who can be honest and accept any mistakes they made. That's all I can think of.
Oh, what was the last one? We didn't hear you.
Oh, the last one was people who can admit their mistakes.
Oh, yes. Okay, we did hear that one. So, okay.
Oh, I think
And naturally good, so good communicators who you get along with, folks that are honest and have self-awareness and accountability.
yes.
Okay, good, good. I asked you that follow-up question, Caroline, because that's kind of naturally, if you were in a real interview with me, I would want you to go deeper on that, right? I'd want to know what was good, right? Good to you might be good different to someone else.
You're right. I feel like I answered these questions pretty vaguely.
Just a little vague. It was a little vague. So you could go deeper because remember, you're interviewing them and they're interviewing you. Good is relative. Screw good. I need people who are effective communicators, who are open to change, who treat everybody's ideas like they're a stakeholder. That was something that Noah called out. And this is an opportunity. Questions like this are an opportunity for you all to seed, right? And what do I mean by that is you've researched the company, you've seen the way that they talk about their culture, the way that they talk about how they treat people. If that is in alignment with what you're looking for, these kinds of questions are opportunities for you to sneak that information in, right? So I think it was Rukaya earlier had mentioned about they refer to their people as circlers, right? So a question like that is a perfect opportunity to bring something like that up and say, you know what, I'm looking for folks that have a strong team culture that really promote communication, self-awareness and honesty, kind of reminiscent of the circular mentality that you all have at the circle. The second thing that I'm looking for is strong values that people are unified on and are serious about upholding, and then opportunities for growth and advancement, right? So that tells me, Okay, exactly what you're looking for. And then what you do after answering a question like that is you interview the interviewer. You give your answer and then you say, you know, that was a great question, Tennille. I'm curious, does that line up with what the circle offers to their employees or the type of environment that you all facilitate? And then that can spark a conversation, right? Because again, I'll say this, there's been many times where I have had to decline a candidate and it didn't have anything to do with their likability or their skill set, right? It could be because I asked them a question like that. They told me what they were looking for. And I know that the company that my company cannot provide that to them, right? If I know that you're looking for growth opportunities and my company is telling me on the back end that whoever's in this role is probably going to be in this role for 4 to 5 years, and you're saying you're looking for accelerated opportunities to grow and take on responsibility and so on and so forth, and I know we can't offer that for you, then I might not move you forward, right? But if you don't ask me questions as well, I'm not going to volunteer that information to you, right? You have to ask, right? There's a saying in the South, it goes like this: closed mouths don't get fed. If you don't ask, you're not going to be giving the information that you need. So if those things are important to you, you need to make sure that you ask the interviewer, hey, is this in alignment with what you all are looking for in a candidate? I remember I had a young lady one time that she was overqualified for this position on my team. She was. And I knew that kind of when I interviewed her, but I didn't realize how overqualified she was, right? Because your resume is a snapshot. It's not everything you've ever done. And it was one of those situations where I, out of the goodness of my heart, is as crazy as this is going to sound, I could not hire her because she was way overqualified. There was not going to be any opportunity for her to get promoted or anything of the sort. She was going to be taking way less than she was valued in the market, probably 20K less than what she deserved. And I could have been a selfish interviewer and said, well, I could just take her and get all of the work out of her that I can, and then eventually she'll quit and go on to something else. Or I could let her continue her job search. And I would have never wanted that woman to think that she didn't get selected because she wasn't good enough. That wasn't it. It's just in alignment for where she was trying to take her career and what we could actually offer her beyond the job description. There wasn't alignment there. Yes.
I'm wondering if I can answer this question in a way that would not make me seem like I'm expecting a lot, because I would like to answer this question in a way so it's so exactly what you just said doesn't happen.
But that's not the goal. That's not the goal of why
No.
I'm getting that feedback. Do you understand what I'm saying?
No,
I'm giving
I understand that's not the goal. I didn't mean it like that. I mean, like, I would like to answer it not in a very vague and general way, right? But be concrete about what I'm expecting from the job, but at the same time, not close any opportunities or doors from my answers.
This may be me projecting a bit, but hey, you can't close the door to an opportunity that was never for you. Okay, you just can't. So if it's for you, it'll be for you, right? There's not gonna be. What we don't want to do is get into the habit of shrinking ourselves so that we are asking these people to give us an opportunity. No, no, you're never gonna get me to sign off on that.
Okay.
You go in there and you say what it is that you need and what it is that you're looking for. Period. And if it's not in alignment with what they can offer, then on to the next company. Because what'll happen is you take a job, you shrink yourself down, take a job in the short term, couple months into that job, you're miserable. And people think that they will do anything just to keep their bills paid. But when you're miserable and you're in a toxic environment that you have no ability to grow or ascend in, you're going to be back in the same situation with less support and less insulation, if that makes sense. So go into these conversations asking for what you need and knowing your bare minimum, right? The way you answered the question was perfect. I'm just adding the context that sometimes you could be selected for reasons that are completely beyond your control, that are not a reflection of who you are as a candidate. right? So you should ask for what you want out front and out loud, right? If you want a good work environment, describe to them what that is and qualify that they can offer that, right? That's all I'm saying. What you said was not overbearing. Now, here's an example of what Caroline is asking a good question. Here's an example of someone maybe going in and what would be the term? There's a term in the industry. It's like canceling yourself in an interview. Here's how you cancel yourself. I'm looking for $150,000 and I want a sign-on bonus and I want to work remote, even though everyone else in your office works in the office. And I want extra weeks of vacation and all of these other things, even though I'm a junior candidate with not a whole lot of experience and no formal degree in the space. So where do I sign? Like, that is how you cancel yourself out as a candidate. But all the things that you all are asking for are completely reasonable and you're deserving of them, okay?
Can I ask a question to you? So can I ask you?
Mhm.
Yeah, the thing is, because this is gonna be my first time a job in tech industry, so.
Mhm.
So as like a junior developer, how should I answer these questions? Because I don't have like a experience yet in a company.
But you know what you're looking for in a company that you would work for. You know what you're looking for, right? You want to work with people. You've told me, honestly, you've actually answered it throughout our time together over these last couple of weeks, right? From my understanding of what you're looking for a company that treats their employees like they have a voice, like they're a stakeholder that's inclusive in that way, to where you all are all working together to drive this company's mission forward. That's important to you. So advocacy at your level is important. It also seems like you're not somebody you were a business owner previously. So you're not looking to be micromanaged. You're looking for autonomy, right? You're looking to work on a team that's going to trust that they've hired someone who can ask the right questions, who knows when to ask for help, who's communicative, and who knows how to show up as a professional. Okay. To me, it also seems like the third thing that you're looking for is an opportunity to really grow with a company, right? I don't take you as someone who's looking for a job where that same job title and pay are going to be what you're going to be doing forever, right? You seem like someone who has a lot of business acumen, has ownership and leadership experience, and with the right cultivation could be in a C-suite role. So those are the things that you're looking for. Growth opportunity, you're looking for a collaborative working environment, and you're looking for a place where your voice can be heard, even if you're an individual contributor.
Thank you very much. You should have take you with me to the interview so you can answer my questions.
But no, it's all there. So I think it's good. Now, Trey, I didn't forgot all about you, and I'm so sorry. Now let's go. Now, Trey, I think you answered this question for me in our one-on-one mock interview, but if you wouldn't mind, I think it could be good for you to deliver it to the group as well. So I'll ask it one more time. What are the 3 most important things that you're looking for in your next opportunity? Hold on one sec, guys. You're good to go, Trey. Go ahead and deliver yours.
Oh, okay. So I'm looking for a role where I can make a real impact, not just with the recent skills that I've learned, but all the technical skills I've gained over time, but also one where I can continue to learn and grow. Culture matters a lot to me, and I've read where y'all are a remote first culture. And I'm especially drawn to that, but not just so much that it's remote, but I'm drawn to teams that value collaboration, transparency, and continuous improvement. So I guess ideally, I want to be in an environment where I'm trusted not only to take ownership, but also one where I'm supported when I hit a challenge.
I like that, Trey. I will note with the remote first thing, you may want to just add a line as to why the remote first thing is important to you. I think that we are slowly getting away from people having such fear-based mindsets, but sometimes they do. So they hear a candidate emphasize remote, they kind of want to know why. Is it because you're going to be doing a bunch of other stuff all day long? Or is it because we're going to have diversity of thought, and that gives you an opportunity to work for a company that you might not normally be able to work for because of that? Like, just give some kind of quantifier to that, so they understand where that's coming from. I actually had an interviewer tell me that. I was being interviewed, and I mentioned the remote thing, and I said, do you have any concerns at the end of the conversation? And she said, well, you mentioned about this remote thing, and can you tell me why that's so important to you? And I answered, and then she said, oh, okay, that's helpful. That, like, I wasn't sure what you meant by that type of thing. So that's the only thing I'll offer to what you shared. Any other feedback for Trey, guys?
Sorry, I had to use the restroom.
Oh, you're fine. Okay. This next group of questions is really important. Then I want to spend the rest of the time talking about how you close out the interview, follow up, and salary negotiation. So let's talk about these. These are leadership based questions. This is for everybody. So I want everyone to answer these questions. Okay. You're not going to be in groups any longer. Give me an example of a time when you had to work. That's not it. Got it. All right. Talk to me about a time where you're working on a project and you had to drastically shift priorities at the last minute. Okay. Now, if you've not worked on a project where things change directions at the last minute, talk to me about what you would do in that situation. Okay. So you're working on something at the last minute, either something really important gets added or the project just completely changes direction. How would you approach handling that? Trey, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so in my last job with PCmatic, I was working on a project. It was adding a new product. It was PCmatic for Mac. And we were really close to just wrapping everything up to deliver it. And then we had an issue come up with our servers, and we had to transition all of our servers from Rackspace to AWS. So we basically had to just put everything on pause for about 3 months. And in doing so, it was a group effort for everyone to participate in the transfer, to get each department and each team to get everything ready to transfer servers. So, we basically just had to put it down, move forward with transitioning the servers. And then once we finally got that completed, I just picked right back up where we were. I had basically a timeline of things that were expected to be done. So I knew exactly where we were and just continued with the checklist, and we picked up and still finished it ahead of time.
Okay, wonderful. Caroline?
Okay. Oops.
So I personally don't like when that happens, that things change in the last minute. And I find it, for myself personally, a good approach is to step away from whatever changes are happening, and try to just take a little break and then try and see a new approach in the situation. An example I can think of would be when I was working in my last sales job. If something would, I don't know, an example. There you go.
Okay, so let's think about how would you approach it, right? You were working on a project, and then all of a sudden the project was changed directions, right? They say, hey, Caroline, this was supposed to be, a website, but we actually need to just totally change directions. We need to make this into 2 different mobile apps. What would be how would you approach that? High level.
High level, I would just step away from the project and see how the website could be divided into directions.
Okay. I mean, yeah, baby, of course. What do you say? You can give me more than that. Like, yeah, for sure. Okay. And what would that look like if you're gonna decide that it needed to be? So those are your first two steps right there, right? So again, if I'm you, somebody asked me that, I say, hey, that's a great question. I'm not gonna lie, Caroline, in a behavioral interview for a software development role of some sorts, I would avoid the fact that you don't like last minute change. That's not going to work in your favor, baby girl. It's just not. Because
I was trying to be honest in my current mood. I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
This is very difficult. I'm actually not good at this, I realize. So
You're not doing bad. You're not doing bad. But I just want you to it's not gonna and it's not because they're gonna think negatively of you for that. It's because in real life, most software engineering teams, you're at the liberty of the customer. Your iterations are at the liberty of the customer if you're working in an agile working environment, right? You can change, something can happen. We're in the middle of Armageddon. I don't know what's going on in the world, but we're in the middle of some crazy stuff. Things are changing daily. So the engineering team and the tech team, it's constant change. So if I'm interviewing someone and they're telling me they don't really like change or they don't really respond well to change, it's gonna be a red flag for me because I have no control over that. The changes are going to happen regardless, right? So I would avoid bringing that up.
So what I need to do, I think, is just create examples because I can't think of them. So
You do. You need to create examples. And if you can't create examples, you can lean on what you were starting to share, right? You were about to say, I don't have a lot of situations where a project changed direction, but if that were to occur, the first things that I would do are take a break, reframe my mind for the change that's happened. The secondary thing that, because I think mindset matters, the secondary thing that I would do is look at the new goals of the new project and understand how that differs from where we're currently at. See if there are any usable elements from the thing that I'm currently creating that can help with the direction that we're trying to go to. I would then look at how I needed to delegate the work. If the timeline is still the same, how are you going to get more done with the same amount of time? You may need to pull in some teammates. You may need to pull in some resources and do some delegation. Then the third thing is I would just communicate and be really transparent with the end user about what it's going to take to achieve this change in direction. That's how I would approach it to still get a positive outcome. Because it's the truth. That's what you would do. What you said is true. You would, if you were making a website and now they need 2 mobile apps, you would say, okay, what pieces can I use from the website that I created can help us get to the mobile app? How long is it going to take to get these 2 mobile apps? Who do we need to call in to help us? And what can we realistically communicate to the end user, right? So you're going in the right direction. You brought up a really important point, something that I would highly encourage. You don't have to use this resource on Handshake. You really don't. There's plenty of like LinkedIn articles and like Indeed posts about top interview questions, right? Pick at least 10 to 15 and write out examples in the STAR method for all of them. You need these in your arsenal. Yeah, I'm telling you, I've had students that their only experience was the program I used to support and maybe, either Amazon warehouse. We had a lot of people from Amazon and FedEx, or maybe they worked at a grocery store. There was like some paramedics, like folks from all walks of life. I even had one lady that had been a stay-at-home mom her whole life. She'd never worked a job before. Never. She'd never worked as a cashier. She never worked as nothing. She'd just only been a stay-at-home mom, right? So, and she still had to find ways to talk about how she could apply these things, right? Because the thing that we're saying is, hey, don't merit me off of my 4-year degree. Merit me off of what I know. So if we're saying that, then we've got to convey to them how it is that we know these different things, right? We've got to close the gaps. So I say all this to say, you do need to write out the answers to these questions. You need to review them, right? And then have them written out so that when you are preparing for an actual interview, you can go back to that document and say, do any of these questions seem like they could come up with this company? When I look at this company's culture and I look at this company's website and they are talking about how they're got circlers and how they invest all of this stuff in continuous education and how they do all these things in the community, are there any questions where I can highlight my leadership? Are there any examples that I should have ready to go where I can talk about things that I've done that were new or innovative? Right? If they're saying on their job description, you need to know HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, what examples in my projects do I have that show that I know how to use that tech stack? Things like that, right? That's how you want to prepare. All right, the other two, you've got the same question, right? Who hasn't gone? Trey went first, then it was Caroline. Okay, I think I'm going in order. All right. Rukia, you're up next.
Okay. It was during my time at the boot camp, at the program, sorry. It was during my time at the web development program where when I was working on my final project, and it happened that one of my cohort mates was also working on the same project. And since all projects had to be unique, my instructor came to me and asked me to change my project because he felt that, I would be able to, manage to complete the project on time. What I did was I started writing down all the features that were required for that particular project, and I made a list of features that I could pull in from my previous project, the one that I was working on prior to that. And I was trying to see, if I can just integrate those in the new project in a way that, I would not have to, just do everything again. We also had support hours, so I would tap into those and get extra help from the instructors, so that I was able to complete the project on time. And so that is how I handled that situation, and then eventually managed to complete the project and deliver like a better project. It turned out to be better than the one that I was previously working on. So
okay, so that was a very good example. That's very good, very relatable, very example.
Completely made that up.
Oh, that was fake. Okay, that was a lie. Okay, see? How would I know? I wouldn't know, right? Now, the one thing I will say is tighten up the actions, right? Tighten up the actions. The actions that I took were a lot of times when it comes to software engineering examples, your actions are going to be like, unless it's a technical person, okay? Behavioral interviews, typically going to be with a recruiter. Sometimes they know coding stuff. Sometimes they don't. Most times they know enough to be dangerous, right? So that you don't feel like you're talking to a librarian, but they don't know what you're talking about. When you start going too deep into the code, that's not their job. They don't know that, right? So with the actions, a lot of time you guys are going to start with documentation, right? You're going to start with watching a couple of videos or trying to self-educate really quickly. Then you're going to create a plan. Then you're going to execute the plan. Then you're going to deliver the project. Like that general framework is how you all are going to approach most things. Sometimes you're going to escalate it to a teammate. Sometimes you're going to escalate it to a manager. But most of the times you're going to do some research. By reviewing some documentation, you're going to look at some videos, you're going to try to self-help, then you're going to go to your peer, then you're going to go to your manager, then you're going to create a plan, etc. Like the general framework is going to be there. Just tighten up the actions. What were the actions that you took? And the goal is stating out actions or themes of actions that could be repeatable if the same thing happened to you. If we hire you and we put you on a project, but then all of a sudden marketing needs us to do something else and go in a totally different direction, do I have a clear-cut idea of how you're going to approach that? High level, it's definitely there. Good. Noah, you're up.
Yeah, I had the situation before while I was working on the project, and since like I want to be to be simple, so I worked on my application to work only on a desktop view, like only customers can see my application through the laptops. So, and then suddenly to my project to be accepted by LearningFuze, so they want me to do a mobile view. And I was kind of kind of, oh, it's a new thing, I need to use it now. It's like, which is totally like a new thing. So it's kind of, but that's the requirement. Like the industry, everybody is using cell phones. I'm not using laptops, so I need to do it. I need to adapt to it. Imagine like I'm in a company and they want me to do this. I need to do it. I need to be constantly reskilling, upskilling, so I can survive in this world. Like, even in an environment like a business, in my business, we have like emergency situation. Okay, need to do this now. Need to act quickly, so your business not like falls down. You know, you need to adapt. That's adapt. Even for me as a business owner, if I have an employee is not able to adapt, I'm not gonna hire him. Since I'm a business owner, if I see someone is like this, no, you're not fit. We need a person who can solve like situation when emergency happens. That's what I want as a business owner.
Okay, I think this is good. Stick to the STAR method. All the elements are there, but we wanna hone it in. And remember, you may run into, this is why you and I definitely need to do our one-on-one, because you may run into different questions when you, from your background of being a business owner, right? One of the things that's probably going to come up, Noah, that you're going to need to have a compelling and concise way to address is sometimes they may want to know, well, why do you want to work for a company? If you were a business owner before, are you going to want to go back into entrepreneurship? Is this just something that you're doing for a short time? Do you actually want a career in engineering, or is this to hold you over until your next business venture, right? They're going to want to understand what kind of trajectory you're looking for as someone who has experienced ownership before. They're going to want to understand that path. What's the career path that you're looking for? And we don't have to talk about that right now, but something to be curious about. So I would lean on the transferable skill sets that you have for managing a business when it's relevant. I wouldn't overemphasize it because it may give off the air that you are not really wanting to be on a team. You know, if you've been managing a business, it might make them think, does this person have the ability to be in a team and be a team player? Or can they only do the vision and the direction piece? Can they take direction to execute the vision as well?
Yeah, you're right about this. So,
Something to just consider. Just be careful with it. We can talk through it. When we get our one-on-one time, I'll help you navigate that. I've seen that come up for folks before. It's not a bad thing. It's just, again, it depends on how open-minded the company is, you know, the leadership team. That's actually another good question that we can talk about right now. One question that you'd probably be asked by the recruiter before you get to the leadership team is, what are you looking for in what's your preferred leadership style, right? How do you lead, and how do you like people to lead you? Okay, so I'm going to open that question to everybody because I think it's a good question, and you need to have the answer to this. There is no wrong answer, right? And this is a question where somebody's asking you about your preferences. You share your preference, but you also need to take that opportunity to say, hey, my preferred leadership style is X, Y, and Z. And when it's my time to lead or you know, be the example, and this is how I approach it. What's the leadership style on this team? What's the current person in this role? How do they lead? You want to understand that, right? I have turned a plenty of job down because the role was great, the company seemed cool, but the team that the person I was going to be reporting to, I'm like, I'm not gonna be working here. I don't do micromanagement. I don't do those kinds of things. I need the freedom to show up as my full self and deliver what you're asking, what you're paying me to do. I could do it, but you know, so those are things you want to understand. So question to the group, what's your preferred leadership style? Or you know, philosophy on leadership. Who do you like to be led by? What kind of leaders do you prefer? We'll go in the same order we went before. Start with Trey, Caroline, Rukaya, and Noah. Trey, you kick off.
Hey, Tanil, I'm not trying to repeat myself, and this kind of goes back to the question about the role that I'm looking for, and it's kind of all combined there, because I'm looking to work with leaders who are clear about not only their vision, but what they expect, their expectations from the team members. And then also that they trust their team to bring their ideas and take ownership and aren't micromanaging because they don't trust us. I'm looking for a leader that really values open communication, feedback, whether it be good or bad. One that also offers good and bad feedback, not just what I do good, but I also look for constructive criticism so that I can grow and get better. I'm looking for the collaborative mindset, someone who creates the environment where you feel supported, but also someone that helps me do my best, create my best, and then also not only stay informed, but also stay engaged. Is that look like something maybe y'all would look for in this position?
Yeah, we definitely have leadership like that on this team that's very collaborative, open-minded, things of that nature. So I think there would be a good alignment there. A follow-up question that someone might ask you with that situation, Trey, and you don't have to answer it right now because I want to get through everyone, would be, can you tell me about a time where you had to step up as a leader in a non-leadership position, right? Those are kinds of questions that may naturally come from you sharing some of what you shared, because there's a lot of collaboration there. There's a lot of clear vision, expectations. It takes the answer a bit deeper than the original when it was listed out in the other answer. So that was good. Let's go on to Caroline. What are you looking for? Which preferred leadership style?
So I work best under a leadership style that is not very micromanaged, that allows for great group collaboration, that and leadership that I see has a goal, an end goal to it and for the team. That way I feel like I can deliver my best results.
I like that. That was strong. Rukaya?
Yeah, I was going to say it.
The leadership style that I would be most comfortable working in or with would be like a collaborative style wherein everybody is contributing equally and everybody's voice is heard. I would also so as a junior developer, I would appreciate if there was a little bit of guidance provided. I'm not talking about hand holding throughout, but places where I need a little bit of help. I have someone to go to. So that is the kind of leadership style I'm looking for.
And then that would be a perfect way to segue into that secondary question, just to ask them, is that the type of team environment that you have? What kind of support do you all actually offer for junior devs coming in, trying to get their feet underneath them? That's also that type of response that you gave is also a nice way to kind of segue into the expectations. So what are your expectations for a junior dev, knowing that it takes a little time for someone to kind of get their confidence underneath them. What does success look like? Those are good ways to start to segue so that, again, you're getting some of the information that you need as you work through it. Noah, you've got the last question of the day, and we're going to pivot to reuse the end of the time. What do you look for in a leadership style?
Yeah, kind of lean toward the leadership that is innovative, creative, bringing new ideas, and bring the product the customers need. So for the company, like not to be like stagnant, always being like innovative, bringing new ideas, and adding new products every time. So I kind of like to work with leadership like this, innovative. At the same time, you can accept feedback, opinions from the team, and and I like to explain So when we bring like a new idea, when the leader bring a new idea, we need to explain it well, knowing what he's doing. Is okay, that's the goal, we need to do this, not like a vague idea. People like explain very well. I had a situation actually like this happening. It's like a family business. So like a someone like I was taking the lead, and it was like it did not like a lead very well because it's not like we did not have an end goal. So kind of losing money and without any end goal, no innovation happening. So we are not adding a new product like other companies. We're adding new things. We're like stagnant, not doing anything, doing work in a traditional way, and the business keeps falling down. That's so the leadership that not innovative, not like moving quickly, like rapidly, bringing new products is gonna fail. That's for the leadership has to be always available.
Okay, I think that was good. You get to this point where you've actually answered the question. The question has been answered. So you answered the question, and then you added the example about the family business. And I don't think that you needed that there. I really don't. I don't think that that was needed there. Remember, we want to. What you focus on grows, right? You all have heard them saying that. It's like all over the internet, but it's true, right? That's how energy goes, right? So what you bring my attention to is what I'm going to focus on because you're bringing it into the conversation. So if I'm asking you what you are looking for in a leader, focus only on what it is, the affirmative, what you are looking for in a leader.
Yes.
Do not include what you are not looking for, right?
Yeah.
That's what I would say. Right, let's pivot. High level, there's a couple of things that I need all of you to keep in mind, okay? For the most part, cadence is good with the answers. Cadence is good, which means you're speaking at a tone that's easy to follow. I'm not hanging on the back of every word, waiting for you to spit it out. You're not talking so fast that I can't keep up, right? You all have very good cadence. You project well, you've got good tone. One thing I do need everyone to keep in mind, some more than others for sure, is the ums and the ahs. Good day, farewell, goodbye. We cannot and ah it out. It makes you sound more nervous or unsure about your answer than I think that you actually are. If you need a moment, take a moment. Remember, they're interviewing you. You're the star, you're Beyonce, you're the moment, okay? So take full command of your space, which means you don't need to feel rushed to answer. You don't need to force an answer. There's a level of thoughtfulness and an intentionality that needs to go into every response. And they're going to appreciate that. And you're going to be more proud of yourself if you do that. So if you need to slow down, slow down. If you need to take a moment, ask for it. Pro tip, we talked about this last time, and I don't think I saw any of you doing it. Notes. I always have these are all notes. These are all secret diary entries about you all. Every single last one of your names is written on this paper, okay? So why do I do this? It helps me keep track of what's going on and any specific feedback that I need to follow up with. But it secondarily, in a real interview, it buys you time, right? So as soon as I get on an interview, I say, hey, Mr. Interviewer, good to see you, bud. I'm going to be taking handwritten notes. So if you see me looking down or you see me writing, it's just me being diligent. Is that okay? They're always going to say yes, unless they are crazy. Because what? You think I'm going to remember everything we're talking about? So they're going to let you take notes. When they ask you a question, especially a hard question, you say, Mr. Interviewer, that was a fantastic question. Let me take a note really quickly. Let me jot something down. I'm flipping through pages, examples, trying to figure out where do I want to say, what do I want to start? Like I've got my notes here. I'm writing down the question as they're asking it. So I'm really thinking about it. I'm taking notes. I might write myself a note or two regarding the answer that I wrote. Oh, they asked me about my best sale. Okay, I said it was this, right? Especially if you are embellishing, you better write that down so you don't forget. Okay. Who's that?
Is that considered as, although it looks really good, but is it kind of considered as a weakness because we're not able to catch ideas quickly? Like,
No.
because we're gonna see someone is doing this, gonna say, okay, he's not able to comprehend quickly.
No, because it's not about quick comprehension. It's about diligence and it's about attention to detail. Do not tell me that you pay attention to detail and that's one of your strengths and you don't take notes in a 45-minute conversation. You're not having attention to detail. You just present. Presence and attendance are the same, but they don't count for much, right? Because somebody can be in the room, but not be engaged. So taking notes, you really should be taking notes in any interview, right? If I interview someone in person and they don't even bring scratch paper or resume to write on, how are you going to remember everything that we're talking about? We're going to talk about a lot of things in an hour. You're going to remember all of it?
I understand that. I just have one question here. So, when they're providing information, it makes sense that we're writing all of that down. But when they're asking a question, like for example, this one, tell me about a time when you had to adjust your colleagues, blah, blah, blah. Why would I be writing that question down? I mean, would that make sense? While, like the interviewer was asking a question, I'm writing it down and then I'm, like later, like answering it. So,
I think that it's because you're taking notes. Like if I'm writing the interview question down, I'm listening to what you're saying, but I don't want to, here's the thing. Competency is evaluated by how you process information, right? So if I'm giving you a question and then you're making me repeat it, I'll repeat it for you because I'm a human being and I'm kind and we're nice and we're having a conversation. But if I'm having to repeat multiple questions for you, we're having to circle back to multiple questions. You're asking to skip multiple questions versus you're taking notes as we're talking and you're saying, hey, I'm really tapped in. I'm taking notes so that I make sure that I don't miss any part of the question. That has a different landing than you asking me to repeat things multiple times. Right? It has a different impact when I say, Lisa, tell me about a time where you had to do something difficult. What was the situation? How did it come? Da, da, da. And you say, okay, I've got it jotted down here that you want to know about a difficult time. This, and this is what happened. I see here noted that you also wanted to know about what was the outcome. The outcome was da, 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 da. Again, don't overuse what you don't need. Right? These are just tactics that you can have so that you are as prepared as possible. If you don't need to write the question down, don't write the question down. There's no need to buy time. But if you're someone that you feel that you typically need to hear the question more than once, you need to hear the question in a lot of different ways, or these questions in general, when you're looking through this document, you're like, I just don't have natural answers for these questions, then I encourage you to take notes. And if a company that is expecting you to come on board for them and solve problems and be curious and understand and have enough self-awareness to know what you're good at and what you're not good at is going to judge you for taking notes, probably isn't going to be a place where your growth is going to be embraced as a junior developer. They're probably going to be expecting you to come in, plug and play, so on and so forth. And those are questions you can, again, ask. But taking notes is always, we talk about it all the time on the talent acquisition side. It is a red flag to me if I am interviewing somebody and they are not taking notes. They're not, because they're going to end up asking me questions that I've already answered because they're not taking notes. You're going to end up asking me something that I talked about at some part of the spill because you're not taking notes. It would be the same thing if I'm interviewing you and I don't take any notes on anything that you say. Would you feel like I was really listening to you? If I sit and ask you a bunch of questions for 30 minutes and I don't take a single note, you think I remembered all that information? No, right? So it works in your favor. Don't overuse it if you don't need it, of course. But don't feel afraid to leverage note taking. The reason why I say you have to call it out, especially in a virtual setting, is because we can't see what you're doing. Like, I don't know if you're taking notes or texting unless you tell me what's happening outside of the purview of my screen, right? So that's where I'd offer that. We've got about 9 minutes left. We haven't talked about two really important things. And one of them, shout out to Trey, because Trey reminded me on Friday of this. At the end of every interview, and I would say, no, every interview. I was going to say it's most important on the first one, but it's every interview, but it is really important on the first one. Once you're done asking questions, they're done asking questions. They're going to say, is there anything else that you want to know or that we didn't go over? You should always have questions prepared. Make sure those questions get answered. Sometimes they'll get answered through the course of the conversation, right? But always have questions prepared. Always. Again, another red flag. If a candidate tells me they're super, at the beginning, they say they're super interested and they really like researched my company and they know all the stuff. And then we get to the end and I'm like, well, do you have any questions for me? And they're like, no, I don't have any questions. Either I did a dang good job or they're not that interested. They're just going through the motions, right? Now, say you prepared 10 questions, they all got answered. You can say that. Hey, I prepared about like 10 or 12 questions, but honestly, they all got answered in the course of our conversation. Is there anything that I should know about this role, this company, or this team that you and I didn't talk about today, right? Give them the opportunity. Then before you get off the call, the number one thing that you need to confirm is if based on the job description, if the person that you're talking to has any concerns about your ability to do the job, okay? I'll run it back one more time. Based on the job description, do you have any concerns on my ability to do the job? You can word that a number of different ways. Based on my work experience, what we talked about today, and what you're looking for in this role, are there any reasons why you don't think I'd be a good fit? Based on the job description and what we share, what I've shared, do you think that there are any reasons why I wouldn't be a good candidate? Lots of ways you can word it, but what you're trying to understand is based on what you all talked about in relevance to the job description, is there any reason why they don't think that you would be a good fit? And you need to know that at the end of every single conversation. And here's why. Say at the end of that conversation, they say, no. We went over everything on the job description based on your experience at LearningFuze, the mobile applications you've been creating, and the online trainings that you've done. I think you have the skill sets to do this job. You need to know that, because if you get advanced through multiple rounds, you need to know where you stand in the candidate pool. Also, if you get declined for the job and you feel that there's foul play, you would need to have that confirmation moving through that to back you up if you needed it. Lastly, you need to understand where you fare in their pool of candidates, right? So if they say, you know what, Tennille, that's a good question. Based on what we talked about today, I think you're a culture fit for our team, but we are really looking for someone who has more applied training on the back end. You're a good candidate, but that's the one area where I could see you just not being the strongest candidate. Now you all can have a little bit more of a conversation. This is your opportunity. If they call out something like that, you could go so many different directions. You would obviously thank them for the feedback. And then you could say something like, well, in my LearningFuze program, I did learn a little bit of Python. Although I don't have any projects that I actively coded in using Python, I do understand the framework and I have been upskilling on it, and I'm more than willing to learn more about it, right? You can also bring up anything they shared with you throughout about how they upskill their employees. You could also ask additional questions, right? Hey, I'm glad that you called that out. I am a bit stronger and honestly a little bit more interested in learning the front end, even though I'm willing to do back end coding. How much of this role requires using Python on a day-to-day basis, right? You are saying that this is something that would put me down in the candidate pool. How much do you use it actually? I've asked questions like that before and they've responded back saying, well, it's kind of like less than 20% of your job. So it's not like critical. If I had to call something out, that would be the one thing that I would call out. So I'm like, okay, I'm in good standing, right? This information gives you the insight that you need to understand what you need to focus on in the interview processes moving forward. If you get to an offer, this kind of information, these check-ins at the end of every interview, give you negotiating power. Okay, so those are things that you need to collect. Also, another avenue is if they give you feedback on something, say you ask that question and they say, Noah, I'll usually, for example, say, Noah, I think it was a good interview, but I have concerns about this area, right? They give you an area that they have concerns about. Normally they'll give you an opportunity to address it, right? Because now you've called it out, they've called it out, you can address it. You can provide an example right then and there of whatever it is that they need more information about. You can offer references that speak to your ability to do that, right? So say they're wanting you to know more back-end technology, and that's the only thing that they think is a little that might make you unqualified for the position, right? You can rebuttal that by saying, you're right. I don't know as much on the back end, but I learned fairly quickly, and I am happy to provide references that can speak to my ability to learn new things quickly, and to get up to speed on new tech in a fast way, right? Something like that. And a lot of times they'll be like, okay, like, yeah, because you're not lying, you're not being dishonest, and you're offering something. If they give you feedback on something that you can't immediately speak to, always adhere to references. If you can immediately speak to it, right? So say you apply for like a sales engineering role and they say, you're great, all of the technical skill sets are there, but I noticed that you don't have a lot of like customer facing experience or something of the sort. Then again, either provide insight about times that you've had to directly interact with customers or manage relationships in that way, or offer references that can speak to your ability to be a high-level communicator and execute against the things that are required to be successful in that role, right? This question is very powerful. And another reason why I encourage you to ask it is for your own peace of mind. The interview process is going to be, you're going to learn a lot about yourself. You're going to learn a lot about your resilience. You're going to learn a lot about your mindset. And just like anything else in life, if you want to have success, you're going to have to keep your mindset healthy. People are going to tell you to be positive. Yuck. Okay. Positivity is fleeting. You need to keep your mindset healthy. Everything that happens is not going to be exciting. Every rejection is not going to be fun, but it's a part of the process. And if you keep your mindset healthy by staying consistent, staying tapped in, feeding yourself positivity every day, that will get you further than trying to force yourself to be positive when you know that you're trying to get towards this goal and you're just not there yet. Okay. So I'm never gonna, yes, Noah.
Yeah, I have a question. So is it like I feel like this question is not, so in the middle of the interview, if I ask this question, is it gonna reflect it negatively on me?
You need to ask this question at the end of the interview. This is the last question you ask before you get off the phone.
So I was like, for me, I'm gonna ask this question when they refuse, when they say, oh, we don't accept you. I'm gonna say, well, what feedback so I can learn from it, so I can.
At that point in time, it's too late. It's too late, right? Because if you wait until you get rejected, you're expecting that you're gonna get a reason. And every time you get rejected, you're not gonna get a reason, right? Sometimes they can't. Sometimes it's a legal thing, right? If I'm interviewing 15 people, I got 3 jobs opening, 3 job opportunities, right? I have to reject some of you throughout the process, but the process is still happening, right? So I can't give you feedback because the interview process is still live. And then once the interview process is closed, the feedback I give you, it's going to be subjective. It's going to be high level for legal reasons. I cannot go into detail about the fact that you answered this question weird and you didn't say this right and you did too much. You're not going to get that level of detail after the fact if you get any real response at all. Most of the time, for legal purposes, if you get declined for a job, you're going to get a high-level email that says, thank you for your candidacy. Please stay connected. Join our career page. Okay. You need to ask this question live and in cover. And the other thing that it does is it makes you brave and it shows that you can take feedback, right? Again, you all are going to go into these interviews and you're going to say, I'm curious. I have a curious mind. That's why I became a coder. I love to collaborate. I'm a good communicator. I know how to take feedback. Prove it. The way you prove it is by asking hard and uncomfortable questions in a poised and professional way, and then having an eloquent response, right? So you ask this question at the end of every single interview. Is there any reason why I'm not aligned with the job? You're not asking if they like you. You're not asking if you're a culture fit. You're not asking if they can afford you. You are simply asking if the skill sets that they think that this person needs to be successful, if you have demonstrated them. And if they tell you no, that's your opportunity to give them the context that they need or connect them via references to the context that they need. Then if you get added to a second interview, you make sure that whatever feedback they gave you, you get in front of. So if they tell me, hey, the only thing that stands out is you're a little light on Python. It's not a super requirement. It's a nice to have, but that's the one thing. I address that. And then if I get into a second interview, I make sure that I ask questions about how frequently do they use Python? What kind of training is in place for new employees? I make sure that I talk to that engineering manager about what I do know about Python and about back-end coding. Planting the seeds so that later on, if they do decline me after the third round, I'm not in my head thinking that it's because I'm a terrible coder and I know it's because I'm a little lighter on Python than the people I was up against.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's really, that's like explained to me. Thank you to me.
I really encourage, it's the only way that it's, and we didn't get to this today, and maybe they'll let me do another session with you all because we didn't get to talk about salary negotiation. But if you're going to negotiate your salary at any given point in time, you need to have the answer to that question. Because you can only negotiate your salary based on your relevance to the role and what value you can bring to the company. And if you don't know where they see that disconnect, you have nothing to negotiate against. Right? So I've seen people get 20, 30K increases on the base because of an efficient negotiation with information that they got from that question. This is good. I know we're over time and now I'm cutting into y'all's lunch, and I'm sorry about that. So thanks for thugging it out with me. If you need anything, definitely Slack me. As a reminder, if you same day book me, it will probably be declined. Noah, you and I had a little drop of the ball. I did not get a notification for your original meeting invite, so we just need to reschedule and handshake.
Yeah,
but
please.
Try to give me at least try to schedule 24 hours in advance, which you did. You did that. And for the most part, that'll be good to go. But if it's the same day, most times I can't make it happen.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm gonna schedule it today. And do you want me to let you know, like I show you, okay, I just made the appointment?
If you scheduled it today, just schedule it for next week.
Well, next week. Right?
For next week. Yeah, you can set it up. You can schedule whenever, just don't same day schedule.
Yeah, for sure.
Can't make those. I usually can't. I've already have planned out what's going to happen for the week. Okay.
And then we can keep like communicate with you like even after the boot camp that we
Yes. And make sure you all are in the jobs channel. Are you all in the jobs channel?
job channel.
There's a jobs channel. It's a channel specifically for sharing jobs. Leah will know about this. Make sure
with this channel.
it's a Slack channel. I don't know where my Slack is. Okay, make sure that bring that up with Leah when she comes back, that you all need to be added to the jobs channel. That is where me, Nakia, and Rachel are posting jobs. I wouldn't say daily, every other day. We try to drop new jobs in there that we see out in the market. You need to apply to those quickly. That's why we do your resume and your cover letter and all of that in advance, so that when you get into the market time where you're gonna go and start applying, you just have good artifacts to send over and you don't have to slow down and stop as much. But yes, if you're not in the jobs channel, you all need to be added to the jobs channel. Okay. Okay, good. I think I will see you all next week. I'll see if maybe possibly we can sneak in one more session. That way I can talk to you about salary stuff and some other things. If not, then again, set up one-on-one time with me and we'll do an individualized plan. Okay. Okay, love y'all. Bye.
Thank you so much for everything. Have a great day.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Thank you too.